Kujat kokilaham sansar sugana ki mayura kuli Nana ratani madhamula pitapa Sri Yukta Vrinda
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Welcome everyone to the Saturday morning reading and discussion of the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, our spiritual master. Not only Siksha Guru, but also Diksha Guru for all of us. Because Prabhupada is the sound incarnation of the Supreme Lord Himself. That's what Shaktavesh avatar means, avatar. Avatar means one who descends from the spiritual platform. And in this particular case, to help the conditioned souls here in the material world, and specifically the Earth planet, we're in the middle planetary systems, to help us become enlightened and get out of the entanglement of repeated birth and death. Vijaya Pandit, Prabhu in Italy, repeated birth and death. Now someone may think, that's not real. Well, that's because they're unreal. They have no real knowledge of the purpose of human life, which is not just to eat, sleep, mate, and defend. That is animal life. There's a difference between a human being and an animal. And so Prabhupada, he was so kind to us. He came from India to bring this transcendental knowledge to the Western world. Why? Because the people in India at the time were not really interested in spreading the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No, they weren't. And so he got on a boat, as we'll read today, and traveled over the ocean to America and begin the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya in this foreign land, which subsequently would spread throughout the world by his transcendental potency. Of course, there's been a lot of difficulty with his mission because of the deviation of so many of his disciples. Yes, and that is unfortunate. But as Jesus said, many are called, few are chosen. So very few people have a chance to really understand Guru Tattva. This is the most important principle of spiritual life. It is, and it's emphasized over and over again in Srila Prabhupada's books, over and over again. But somehow or other, when people read these books that have different motive, they pass over these points and never really understand them. They don't have the capacity because they're adulterated by personal motive. It's a very interesting science, and I wanted to mention Nilesh Sharma. He made a very interesting point last week about a medicine. I'm going to try to remember it, but if you have a medicine and you change one particle of the medicine, then you may kill you. That science is exact. It's not you just put a little bit of this and a little bit of that and you make the pill and the person will get better. So spiritual science is like that. It's not like you just take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and then all of a sudden it becomes right. No, it's exactly the way Prabhupada presented it, without any change. Prabhupada insisted on that. Do not change anything that I've presented to you. Now, do people get that? Not really. And this is unfortunate, very unfortunate. But this is the material world, everyone, where people are confused, bewildered. They have opinions. Oh, I have this opinion, that opinion. It's like a classroom of opinionators. So what? Your opinion means zero. We do not speak on the basis of opinion, everyone. We speak on the basis of what Prabhupada is teaching us. And we refer to it, and it's so beautiful how Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, our God brother, he's enlightening us on how to study Prabhupada's books, how to study the scientific process of devotional service so that we can get out of this material world, just like our God brother. And I've been thinking all week, everyone, about Aprakrita Prabhu. Oh my God, it was, and I wanted to encourage everyone to go to our last class on Wednesday and listen to it. I apologize for the audio out of the car, but nonetheless, you get the idea of how exalted of a devotee he was. No question. You can judge a man by how he speaks, how he writes. And Aprakrita was truly a transcendental being associating with all of us. And I really regret not having as much association with him as I could. I was looking at Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. I have a chat history with him for the last year and a half, quite a long chat history. And I was reading it, and it's really fantastic to see how fixed up he was. And by the way, for everyone's knowledge, he was a tremendous supporter of the Hare Krishna Society Prabhupada Disciples Association. Tremendous supporter of this. He attended every class, and he would constantly send me messages complimenting our efforts to protect Srila Prabhupada's legacy. Yes, there has to be warriors in this life that are interested in telling the truth to other people, especially those that are interested in spiritual life and are being deviated by people that are misrepresenting our philosophy, and that is a tragedy. So, Aprakrita, all glories to him. Phenomenal practice of devotional service. He would get up every morning at 2:30 in the morning. He would chant. He said minimum 16, but often it was 25 rounds a day. And he was committed to a renounced life of austerity and service to the mission of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. And if we can adopt some of these qualities in our own life, then this will be a great opportunity for us to also achieve the success that he did. A great success. Krishna consciousness is not a matter of academic studies, everyone. No, it's not. And Krishna consciousness is not a matter of show bottle spiritualism. No, it's not. Krishna consciousness is based on each individual person's approach to the service of the spiritual master and the service of their God brothers and God sisters. This is a community, and we have to be careful, very, very careful, to protect the devotional creeper and avoid any kind of fault-finding, criticism. This is going on, especially in the petty world of the internet. Remember that. It's a very petty world. I call it the world of the cottage industry of opinion. The cottage industry of opinion. Everybody has an opinion, and they're entitled to the opinion. Everybody has an opportunity to speak, and they can babble all the kind of garbage they want. But this is not going to get you out of the material world. No, it won't. And so we have to be very careful when we're approaching this media, the internet media, to know how to filter through it and stay fixed on the process of devotional service and not end up becoming a professional fault finder. It's not a good thing. And that will kill your Krishna consciousness, these things that go on in life. So thank you, everyone, all of you. You're such wonderful devotees, and we really appreciate it. And I'm going to bring up something later where yesterday Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, we've been reading the Gita. I've been reading the Gita to my son on our long journey. We're on a long journey across Canada to Calgary, so we spend like 7-8 hours in the car. Today will be another 8 hours. But we had a chance to finish the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā. I just read every verse, and that it was really quite interesting. And study some comments, not much, but basically hearing Prabhupada's philosophy, very, very enlightening, very transcendentally surcharging, actually. And this is the bliss of Krishna consciousness, to become surcharged with transcendental knowledge by the grace of the bona fide spiritual master. Yes, that's the way it is. And we're going to go now to the diaries of Srila Prabhupada. As you know, we're into the section called the New York Journal, the actual journal, not the Jaladutta diary, but the journal when Prabhupada landed in America and started his preaching work, first out of Butler, Pennsylvania, incidentally, as you all know, where Donald Trump was almost killed a month ago. And so here we have chapter 1, the Upper West Side, January 19th through March 31st, 1966. January 19th through March 31st, 1966. Look at that wonderful picture of Prabhupada. So serious, people go, oh, he looks very, grim, so serious. Well, he's actually in transcendental ecstasy, but he's serious. That's all. People should be serious. The Upper West Side Summary. Okay, let's see if we can get that a little closer. I hope we can get it. Go up there at the top there, Rupesh, in South India. Rupesh is in South India. On January 9th, when the first entry occurs, Srila Prabhupada is living in the rear rooms of the yoga studio of Dr. Sri Ram Murti Mishra at 501 100 West 72nd Street on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Daily, Srila Prabhupada walks several blocks to Dr. Mishra's residential apartment at 33 Riverside Drive to bathe and to cook his meals. In the evening, Srila Prabhupada holds classes for interested persons. Some of Dr. Mishra's students attend these classes. During the day, Srila Prabhupada is active in selling his books to bookstores. He writes to newspapers and radio stations and organizes occasional speaking engagements. He also writes to large charitable foundations like the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation. On the weekends, Srila Prabhupada joins Dr. Mishra on yoga retreats at the Ananda Ashram in Monroe, in upstate New York. Here he conducts kirtans, which the students appreciate. Remember, Mishra wasn't letting him speak. He let him chant. Srila Prabhupada is looking for a building to purchase as a Radha Krishna temple. He hopes this will be financed by Sri Padmanpat Singhania, a wealthy industrialist in Kanpur, India. Srila Prabhupada contacts the Salvation Army to arrange the transfer of funds from India to America. He also writes to his godbrothers in India to petition the President of India to sanction the foreign exchange. Very big thinker. This endeavor occupies Srila Prabhupada for almost 5 months. On February 2nd, Srila Prabhupada purchases a tape recorder to record classes, kirtans, and bhajans. He pays the equivalent of 1 month's rent. Very visionary move. On February 20th, he completes tape recording the Gita Upanishad introduction. So that's February 20th, 1965. Years later, this becomes the introduction to the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is. Srila Prabhupada tries to enlist the aid of Charlotte LeBlanc, who has been attending his classes, to edit his manuscript of the Bhagavad-gītā. She becomes reluctant when she learns that Srila Prabhupada's philosophy is opposed to monism. Yes. Srila Prabhupada wants his own place, and on February 9th, he signs a lease with the manager of the same building to rent an office room. On February 23rd, Srila Prabhupada forms the International Institution for God Consciousness and enrolls 7 of the people who are attending his classes. One of these is Harvey Cohen, who introduces Srila Prabhupada to Paul Murray, the LSD man. Another young man speaking spiritual knowledge. Oh my God. Wait till you hear the story of what really happens. In March, Srila Prabhupada's room is burgled. His tape recorder, typewriter, and book bag are stolen. Within days, Srila Prabhupada moves to a loft at 94 Bowery, which he shares with Paul Murray. While he's obligated to give a month's notice at his present location, he changes the venue of his classes on April 1st and travels downtown for each meeting. We'll end there. Thank you very much for listening to this diary presentation. And we'll move forward and begin the division of it into books and classes and kirtans and letters and contacts as we move forward through this historical mission that Srila Prabhupada has undertaken, which we, Nilesh Sharma, are still a part of. This mission goes on despite all the difficulty. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to the devotees of the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society. Let's move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava by Srila Prabhupada, the bhajan that he did to introduce all classes, and look forward to the discussion and reading of Bhagavad-gītā As It Is from Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, our cherished and beloved God brother. All glories to the Sankirtan mission.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Braja Jana Nandana Yaśodā-nandana Braja Jana Nandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari समाज भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना Yamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samavita Bhaktarinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam Narayanam namaskrityam Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad-gītā, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Thanks everyone for joining in with this reading and discussion on the Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. As we do every week, we will be reading a few selected verses given by Srila Prabhupada in early 1966 when he started to lecture on the Bhagavad-gītā in New York, USA. These were chosen by Srila Prabhupada himself. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunatan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitam Stam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Dasa and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita-Acārya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates Sri Lalita and Vishaka. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostuti. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaham. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desired trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we will proceed with our regular reading. It's to be noted that this reading is conducted on the basis of the original 1972 non-adulterated, non-edited Macmillan edition. All synonyms, purports, and translations are by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Today we will be reading from chapter 11, text number 43. Pitasi lokasya chara charasya Svamasya pujyasya gurur gariyan Natvat samosti abhyadika kutonyo Lokatraye apya pratima prabhava. Pita, Father, Asi, you are. Lokasya, of all the world. Chara, moving. Acharasya, non-moving. Tvam, you are. Asya, of this. Pujyaha, worshipable. Cha, also. Guruhu, master. Gariyan, glorious. Na, never. Tvatsamaha, equal to you. Asti, there is. Abhyadikaha, greater. Kutaha, how is it possible? Anyaha, other. Lokatraye, in 3 planetary systems. Api, also. Apratima, immeasurable. Prabhava, power. Translation: you are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation, the worshipable chief, the spiritual master. No one is equal to you, nor can anyone be one with you. Within the 3 worlds, you are immeasurable. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The Lord Krishna is worshipable as a father is worshipable for his son. He is the spiritual master because he originally gave the Vedic instructions to Brahma and presently he is also instructing Bhagavad-gītā to Arjuna. Therefore, he is the original spiritual master, and any bona fide spiritual master at the present moment must be a descendant in the line of disciplic succession stemming from Krishna. Without being a representative of Krishna, one cannot become a teacher or spiritual master of transcendental subject matter. The Lord is being paid obeisances in all respects. He is of immeasurable greatness. No one can be greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, because no one is equal to or higher than Krishna within any manifestation, spiritual or material. Everyone is below him. No one can excel him. The Supreme Lord Krishna has senses and a body like the ordinary man, but for him, there is no difference between his senses, body, mind, and himself. Foolish persons who do not know him perfectly say that Krishna is different from his soul, mind, heart, and everything else. Krishna is absolute. Therefore, his activities and potencies are supreme. It is also stated that he does not have senses like ours. He can perform all sensual activities. Therefore, his senses are neither imperfect nor limited. No one can be greater than him. No one can be equal to him, and everyone is lower than him. Whoever knows his transcendental body, activities, and perfection after quitting his body returns to him and does not come back again to this miserable world. Therefore, one should know that Krishna's activities are different from others. The best policy is to follow the principles of Krishna. That will make one perfect. It is also stated that there is no one who is master of Krishna. Everyone is his servant. Only Krishna is God, and everyone is servant. Everyone is complying with his order. There is no one who can deny his order. Everyone is acting according to his direction, being under his superintendence, as stated in the Brahma Samhita. He is the cause of all causes. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadati Visheshatah Adadana Strinam Danteridam Yachi Punah Punah Srimadru Papadam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Shatakaromisvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This particular purport from Srila Prabhupada is very important. This is a perfect description of the absolute truth, Lord Sri Krishna. And the reason why Srila Prabhupada can describe the absolute truth in such a perfect way is because he is a bona fide authorized acharya or guru in the line of disciplic succession, specifically in the line emanating from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Now, it's important in the Bhagavad-gītā himself, Prabhupada mentions here that no one is higher than Krishna, no one can be greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, because no one is equal to or higher than Krishna within any manifestation, spiritual or material. Everyone is below him. No one can excel him. This is nicely summarized by Lord Krishna himself in the Srimad Bhagavad-gītā in chapter 7, text number verse 7, where Krishna says, Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, Dhananjaya, you should know there is no truth higher than me. Everything is resting upon me, just like pearls rest upon a thread. Now, this is significant because in Sanskrit, one of Lord Vishnu, one of Krishna's game is called Asamurdva, Asama Urdhva, that no one is higher than him. But how does everything work? This is all described in the Upanishads. Everything works by the energies of the Supreme Lord. Everything that we see, the entire manifestation, is coming from Krishna, is maintained by Krishna, and ultimately is dissolved by Krishna through the agency of his transcendental energies. Now, somebody may, the many atheistic persons may react and say, well, how is that possible? Well, it is possible because it is a fact. We know from practical experience, daily experience, that everything we see in this world has some origin, some creation. If you take a vehicle or a house or a computer, for that matter, with these various devices that we're dealing, these did not fall from the sky. There was an engineer, there was manufacturing, there was a source, there was a creation. In the same way, this entire world comes originally from Krishna. A few days ago, I had a very interesting discussion with a devotee in India, and he started to read to me a purport from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Prabhupada explains the philosophy of Buddhism. And one of the tenets of Buddhism is that there is no creation, therefore there is no creator, that the entire manifestation is eternal. Yes, the energy is eternal, but it is manifested at a certain time through the creation process called Srishti. This is done through the agency of Lord Brahma and all the different living entities, according to their previous karma, previous activities, take their birth and get their birth in their different bodies in the material world. It is not that these living entities have evolved over some kind of nonsensical idea, which does not account for any creator. No, there is a creator. In this universe, there is a chief engineer named Lord Brahma, and this creation is manifested. It's interesting to note that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in Canto 2, chapter number 3 and 4, there is very elaborate description of the sequence of creation. How does everything take place? We know from the scripture of the Christians, the Bible, they claim that in the beginning there was the sound. Yes, there was the sound. According to the Vedas, that sound is Om. Om is a manifestation of Krishna. Pranabaha sarvavedeshu. In the Bhagavad-gītā, Lord Krishna explains that this pranava, the Om vibration, that this is a manifestation of Krishna. So all these energies are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jnana bala kriyacha, the knowledge energy, the potency of creation, everything is coming from Krishna. We see in the Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 10, text number 8, where Krishna describes Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. I am the origin of everything material and spiritual. Those who are devotees or godly conscious persons, they accept these facts, that God is the creator of everything, that everything comes from him. Therefore, one should pay his respects, his homages, and surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is very important. I see that Bhakti Rupesh very nicely found some statements from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita of what we're talking about. It's very interesting how in these purports in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada is quoting from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, breaking down the various principles of Buddhist philosophy and explaining how these philosophies are contrary to the Vaishnava philosophy. Now, Lord Buddha came at a particular time in a particular place to stop the unnecessary animal killing that was going on in India at the time. But we do know from Srimad Bhagavatam that he was predicted by Vyasadeva himself that he would come. Kikateshu bhavishyati, that this incarnation would come in the age of Kali Yuga to stop this. But the philosophy of Lord Buddha is like trickery, saying, I don't believe in the Vedas, just accept what I say. Because he's an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, people would benefit by following his instructions. But to properly understand the philosophy of Vaishnavism, one should not be misled by the philosophy of the Mayavadis or Buddhism. In the Padma Purana, as quoted by Srila Prabhupada in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described, Mayavadam asat shastram prachannam bodhamuchyate. Mayeva kalpitam devi kalau brahmana rupina. This is a conversation between Lord Shiva and Parvati, his consort, in which he explains that in this age of Kali, I will appear kalau brahmana rupina, a form of a brahmana, which predicts the appearance of Adi Shankaracharya. And what will he do? Mayavadam asat shastram, preaching these false scriptures. Prachannam bodhamuchyate, it's covered Buddhism. Why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all these great acharyas, Madhva, Ramanuja, Vedanta Dishika, Pillai Lokacharya, Vyasatirtha, Akshobhya Muni, so many acharyas, Vaishnava acharyas, fight this nonsensical impersonalist philosophy? Because it is covered atheism. To say that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no form, yes, there are many statements in the Upanishads which seems to present the absolute truth as being impersonal. But one has to hear the explanations from these great acharyas. Apanipada Jamano Grahita, although he has no legs, still he walks. Although he has no eyes, he sees through everything. He sees everything. So one has to hear from proper authorized sources. Then one can understand what are the features of the absolute truth, what is the absolute truth. And the foremost scripture to understand the absolute truth is the Srimad Bhagavatam. We see in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam how Vedavyasa is described, Vadantitas tatpavidam yat jnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. That the absolute truth is manifested in three phases, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So if one hears from proper authorities, everything can be understood in the proper context. That is why it is so important to hear from authorized, bona fide sources, not some nonsense persons who are after cheap followers and simply earning money in the dress of Vaishnavas. That may not help. How many times have we seen warning in Srila Prabhupada's writings, specifically in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-gītā, about persons who try to mislead others and who are simply after personal self-aggrandizement. We've often discussed this as part of this program, that one should utilize his God-given intelligence to sort out what is proper and what is improper, what is bona fide and what is not bona fide. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishayo viduhu. Why was the Bhagavad-gītā spoken? Krishna explains in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā that this Bhagavad-gītā, this knowledge, was received in disciplic succession. But now, because it has been distorted, the original message as it is appears to be lost. Therefore, Krishna came to reestablish the disciplic succession. And this is very important. Prabhupada, many times in his writings, refers to great, powerful acharyas, sons, teachers, prophets, and devotees who are chosen by him to revive God consciousness, to revive Krishna consciousness, because they're empowered by Krishna. This is the meaning of Shakti, Avesha, Avatar. Shakti means special energy. Avesha means empowered. Avatar means one who descends. One should never think that someone like Prabhupada is just a regular sadhu or somebody who came at the right place or at the right time. No, this person was especially empowered, who came sent by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from the spiritual world to revive Krishna consciousness, to preserve the original bona fide disciplic succession. We have compiled a little booklet, Narasimha Prabhu and myself, called The Unique Historical Position of Srila Prabhupada, the Acharya for the Golden Age. It will be released soon. We have read several times from that particular booklet. It is a small booklet which explains the unique position of a Nitya Siddha, of a transcendently liberated soul who came from the spiritual world to deliver the pure message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is very important to understand, because we see that there's so much misunderstanding and misrepresentation about the position of a pure devotee. Most of you, I'm assuming, are familiar with an outlandish, crazy statement that has been filed by some institutional managers of Prabhupada's society, in which they claim that Prabhupada was a worker for hire. Oh, really? Like an employee of your corporation? This shows the bewilderment and the level of Sahaja infiltration and Mayavad infiltration in Prabhupada's society, of how anyone could write or say such nonsense things. Oh, and I've heard all the possible argument and rebuttals about this is just a technical point to explain who should, according to the United States copyright law. Yeah, we've heard all of that. But it does not explain the mentality of these people. It actually does explain the mentality of these people. They have zero understanding of His Divine Grace's position because of aparad against them, disobedience of His order, disobedience of His instructions. That for anyone who's listening to this, just remember, be aware of pretenders who do not follow in the bona fide disciplic succession and teachings of Srila Prabhupada. And I know we've read this several times before. Somebody just mentioned that to me the other day. So well, why don't you read again that part from the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā, where Srila Prabhupada talks about people who are simply interested about self-aggrandizement. And before we conclude, here it is again. A bona fide spiritual master is in a discipline, Bhagavad-gītā chapter 4, text 43. Chapter 4, text number 42, actually. A bona fide spiritual master is in a disciplic succession from time eternal, and he does not deviate at all from the instructions of the Supreme Lord as they were imparted millions of years ago to the Sun God, from whom the instructions of Bhagavad-gītā have come down to the earthly kingdom. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad-gītā as it is expressed in the Gita itself, and beware of self-interested people after personal aggrandizement who deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the Supreme Person, and his activities are transcendental. One who understands this is a liberated person from the very beginning of his study of the Gita. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 4th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad-gītā in a matter of transcendental knowledge. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that wonderful explanation of our philosophy from the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, which is a great source of inspiration for all of us aspiring devotees of Krishna and our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And I mentioned that we have opened a series of branch offices, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, around the world. And when you attend our programs, you'll see at the end of the program the list of the names of those branch offices. Now, the function of those branch offices are to assist us in the distribution of books in different locations throughout the world, because that is part of our mission, is to, like we're doing now, we had a GoFundMe campaign. We raised the money for the Srimad Bhagavatam, original Delhi editions. And we want to thank everyone who participated in that. And when we have those printed, we'll be working with our branch offices to help them distribute them in their local areas. And they can also be a resource for people that they meet in their area of the world to help these people understand the truth of the matter in terms of spiritual life, because of the various reasons that you have explained this morning, Prabhu, in your discussion that have taken place in this mission. So branch offices are very interesting. And, you know, we were reading the Gita yesterday, as I mentioned, while traveling on the road, and we read the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā devotional service. And I came across a very interesting purport from Srila Prabhupada that I wanted to share with all of you today, because this process of devotional service, for some people, it may be difficult for them to take it up. But still, if they do some kind of service, they'll make advancement in this life, which will lead them forward into a future opportunity to take up Krishna consciousness. So any amount of service that can be done, that is beneficial. Prabhupada even talks about people that are pious, that are performing pious activity, like opening a hospital or doing some kind of philanthropic service. They'll get some benefit from it. But when they finally take to the service of a bona fide spiritual master, if they're fortunate enough to get that opportunity, then that is the highest level, Nilesh, of opportunity in this universe. There's nothing higher than this. There's nothing more complete than the service to the bona fide spiritual master. Sure, there are bogus gurus. Prabhupada says in India, there are thousands of people claiming to be incarnations of God. Oh yes, I'm God. This is also absurd. And then there are thousands of so-called gurus. That's also madness. So to find the bona fide spiritual master and to learn from him like we are, there's nothing greater than this. You can say whatever you want. You can argue with us whatever you want. You can give your opinions whatever you want. It'll roll off our backs like water off of a duck. We're not interested. Not interested, because all of us know that Prabhupada is the bona fide representative of Krishna. He is, period. The bona fide representative of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. And therefore, we've reached, Nilesh, the highest level of opportunity. There's nothing greater than that. I'm going to read from chapter 10, or chapter 12, text 10. If you cannot practice the regulations of bhakti yoga, then just try to work for me. Just try to work with me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One who is not able even to practice the regulative principles of bhakti yoga under the guidance of a spiritual master can still be drawn to this perfectional stage by working for the Supreme Lord. How to do this work has already been explained in the 55th verse of the 11th chapter. One should be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. There are many devotees who are engaged in the propagation of Krishna consciousness, and they require help. So even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of bhakti yoga, they can try to help such work. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, and labor. 4 items. Just as in business, one requires a place to stay, some capital to use, some labor, and some organization to expand. So the same is required in the service of the Lord. The only difference is that in materialism, one works for sense gratification. The same work, however, can be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, and that is spiritual activity. If one has sufficient money, he can help in building an office or a temple for propagating Krishna consciousness. Very interesting, eh, Nilesh? An office, Prabhupada says. Build an office. And we have 18 offices now in our group, ready to move forward as we continue to print books, the original editions, for propagating the Krishna consciousness movement. This is a work in action, not a work in thinking. Or he can help with the publications. Yes, we want to do books in Italian. We want to do books in French. We want to do books in Spanish and English. And we're moving forward with that, by the way, everyone. We're not just talking. There are various fields of activity, And one should be interested in such activities. Step by step by step by step, you can take up this process until you become completely surrendered, like a Prakrita was to the mission. If one cannot sacrifice the results of such activities, the same person can still sacrifice some percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. This voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness, voluntary service, will help one to rise to a higher state of love for God, wherein one becomes perfect. So, very profound. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further comment.
Very interesting discussion here. There was a story in 1971 how some devotees went to Srila Prabhupada in Calcutta, and they had met a gentleman that had come from Bihar near Ranchi. And this person said that he wanted to donate some land to Prabhupada and for ISKCON, for the mission. And Prabhupada asked them a couple of questions. Well, where is this land? Is there anything on the land? Is there any building, any trees, any water? Practically, it was a piece of deserted land on the outskirts of Ranchi somewhere. And Prabhupada said, you cannot even buy on a regular basis bananas to offer the deities, and you're going to go all the way to Bihar to buy some desert land? And Prabhupada said, you have to be practical. Go from small to big, not from big to small. In other words, Srila Prabhupada was very practical. And the point is, Prabhupada at the end recommended, don't bother so much endeavor for big, big temples, big, big stones, mortar buildings, endeavor for book distribution. Small preaching centers to increase the book distribution. And this is very important. The future of the movement lies with the distribution of the message of the pure devotee Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. And many people don't seem to comprehend. They are stuck in the bodily conception of life, the Vapuvad conception of life, and they purposely misinterpret some of Prabhupada's statements to twist and change the real meaning of what Prabhupada did. Let me give you an example. There used to be a devotee in Seattle, Washington, USA, named Makan Chor. He was an initiated disciple of Prabhupada who never met Prabhupada. He never physically met Srila Prabhupada. He was doing service in the temple faithfully, enthusiastically, requested his initiation from Prabhupada. He was recommended by some temple president or GBC, and he eventually got initiated. There are numerous devotees like that. Then you have many devotees who only met Prabhupada once when they were initiated. So those people that say that you have to follow the Vapuvad idea, how do they explain that Prabhupada adjusted according to time, place, and circumstances to facilitate the expansion of Krishna consciousness? Because he had unlimited intelligence given by Krishna, how to adjust things properly. This is very important to understand. Desha, Kala, Patra, Nyaya. Time, place, and circumstance. The problem is when people stretch that to start to change the teachings, adulterate the teachings, adulterate the instructions for some personal motive, then it creates havoc. Utpatayeva Kalpate is given by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. That devotional service which does not follow Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatigiri, Vidim, Vina. One has to follow the instruction of the Shastra according to the instruction of the Acharya. Not simply that one goes to the Shastra and starts manufacturing interpretations. I'll leave it at that. We have our good friend Neil Sharma Prabhu, who obviously must have some point.
Hold on,
yes,
hold on for a minute. I wanted to, before we get him to speak, we've had on the chat here comment from our god sister in Montreal, Rochisha Devi Dasi. And she said in the chat, I would like to comment on Aprakrita Das. Yes, we want to hear that very much. At the last meeting, I had no electricity and no internet connection. So remember, Mother, you can go to that program on YouTube and make a reference to it. It was one of the top classes that I attended myself in the history of our group. So it's a fantastic. And we'd like to ask you if you could speak on the glories of Aprakrita from Montreal, Rochisha Devi Dasi. Put your microphone on.
Oops. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Thank you.
So I have known Aprakrita Das since 1976 when I joined the temple in Montreal.
Yes.
Subsequently, we lost touch. He moved to Vancouver with his partner, Kṛṣṇa Bhakti Devi Dasi, and his daughter, Kalindi. On my side, I moved to Los Angeles temple, and I was visiting other temples. Over a year ago, I contacted him after viewing a clip on YouTube, Photo Japa Prabhupada. When I recognized the devotees from Montreal, which Srila Prabhupada, and his name was at the bottom. It was the first time I entered a YouTube site. We communicate by message a few times and then by phone. I asked him if I could do some service in some way, and he accepted by giving me the most sublime service I never had in my life, the narration of the Krishna book. Since then, my life has changed completely. He introduced me to the group Association of Disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and I expressed him how grateful I was every time. And every time I sent him a new chapter, narration of Krishna book, I was just grateful and telling him how it really touched me and all my life changed. And how grateful I was. He was very humorous, candid, I would say, and something very unusual about him. At his birth, he weighed more than 17 pounds. So it's 7 kilos and more. And in his family, 4 of the children, brothers and sisters, 4 of them are disciples of Srila Prabhupada. There was Ishavatar Das, Lila Shuka Devi Dasi, Siddhi Devi Dasi, and Aprakrita Das. He was always thinking about how to serve Srila Prabhupada. He loved to talk about death, a subject that brought us together. I live in a place very far from the city. He came to meet me this summer with Kṛṣṇa Bhakti Devi Dasi, and we were able to talk about his future projects. I was present to all his Japa du Midi from the beginning. He was saying that the number of participants was not important. Quality was more important than quantity. He was not attached to the result. He wanted to put a radio station on air, Krishna Montreal. There was music from Krishna, and between the pieces of music, he introduced verses from Nectar of Devotion. He was advertising the Krishna radio, the most spiritual radio of the universe, nothing less. I was very happy to be able to serve Srila Prabhupada with such a great devotee. Such a great devotee, it was very inspiring for me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. That was amazing. So it was, could you just name the family members? Because I was trying to remember his brother who was in the Montreal.
Ishavatar Das.
Ishavatar Das.
Ishavatar Das. Lila Shuka Devi Dasi and Siddhi Devi Dasi.
Ishavatar.
Ishavatar.
Thank you very much, Mataji. That was beautiful and very inspirational for all of us. to know that it is possible for a devotee to make advancement in the process of Krishna consciousness if they have the proper association, and we do. Let's move forward with our friend in Florida who has his hand up, Nilesh Sharma. Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Very interesting discussions. I would definitely like to start off with quoting from Bhaktivedanta Thakur's predictions about this Kali Yuga. What I'll do is I'll just try to read off. One of the themes of Bhaktivedanta Thakur's writings is the decline of integrity and sanctity in religious practices during Kali Yuga. Now remember, I'm not talking about regular places. I'm talking about religious institutions. I'm talking about temples. He foresaw the places of worship would face many challenges. Number one, corruption and malpractice. He predicted that the purity of worship and spiritual practices would be compromised by various forms of corruption and malpractice. This includes misuse of religious authority and commercialization of spirituality. Commercialization of spirituality. That's number one. Number two, degradation of rituals. Bhaktivedanta Thakur noted that the performances of religious rituals would become superficial, with many people engaging them without genuine understanding of devotion. Without genuine understanding of devotions. Number three, false gurus and leaders. He warned about the rise of false gurus and leaders who would mislead devotees for personal gain, undermining authentic teachings of the scriptures and true spiritual practices. And then the last one, four, the lack of true devotion. He observed that the depth of true devotion and adherence to the principles of bhakti would diminish, with many people only superficially participating in religious activities. This is what Bhaktivedanta Thakur had predicted way back through his quotes in Sri Chaitanya's Life and Precepts and Bhakti Tattva Viveka. These are the two books where he has been quoted from about these false practices which are going to go on. So this was what I was bringing about, is that in our own parampara, this has been predicted, and we should not be fazed by it. But at the same time, Bhaktivedanta Thakur has given us the encouragement that if we were to follow the principles through the proper disciplic succession, through the bona fide Acharya, there is still hope for us in this age of Kali. But this is coming from the religious institutions itself. That's number one. Number two, we were talking about Buddha and Adi Shankaracharya's appearance. Now remember, this is all connected to when we try to not follow the proper principles of bhakti or proper principles laid down by the acharyas. Krishna, at the end of Dwapar Yuga, gave us the Bhagavad-gītā. He gave us the principles of religion again through a new disciplic succession starting from Arjuna. Now, somewhere, somehow, Buddha had to come. When was Buddha's appearance? Almost 2nd century BC. That is, we are talking about almost 2200 years before today. You know, almost at that time he had to come. Why did he come? Is because of the indiscriminate animal sacrifices which were done by the Brahmanas for leading society. Now, if the Brahmanas are going to lead the society in the wrong way, how is society going to go in a righteous direction? So that's why he had to come down. And he says, stop listening to the Brahmanas. Stop listening to the Vedas. So the prescription of the disease at that particular time was Buddha, which is voidism, which is Shunyavadi. The second, now the people had to be brought from voidism to something, from 0 to 1, which is Advaitva, which is why Adi Shankaracharya comes down. Says, no, let us bring back the Vedas. not everything in the Vedas is wrong. The right interpretation of the Vedas has to be brought about. And he brought it. But remember, it is the understanding of the common man. How can he come from 0 straight to 2, Dvaitvad, which is Bhaktivad? So he had to go through the process of Adi Shankaracharya, which is Mayavad. And Shankaracharya has appeared somewhere around 8th century, 6th or 8th century of this particular millennium, 6th or 8th century. And now, 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes and re-establishes Bhakti Cult. So we are at a very opportune time that look at what happens when we change things around. We as preachers, we should understand that if we were to misinterpret or change anything associated with the Acharya, the time lost, especially in the age of Kali, we live only 100 years. So from 2nd century BC to 500 years ago, if we have lived in these particular times, we have lived in a different prescription, which is not the perfect prescription to understand Bhagavan. So it is very critical that we follow the Acharya's principles. Otherwise, we're going to mislead people in so many ways. And then we have to trouble Krishna again to come in some form or the other to rectify things. You see? So very, very important that we follow this. And then the last part is, yes, there are 2 theories of evolution. Remember, one prevalent is what we call as Darwin's theory of evolution, which is survival of the fittest. But there is a second theory also, which is called theory of intelligent design or creationism. And most scientists declare it unscientific is because it supports this God realization theory. But it has been supported through different scientific facts that intelligent design does exist. So even in the scientific world, we do find things which correlate or which parallel spiritualism, which is taught to us by Srila Prabhupada. So I wanted to make these points. Your criticism on these topics, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We can't hear you. We can't hear you, Prabhuji.
You're not here.
Yeah, thank you very much. You're right. We have to get up to speed with what we're doing because, practically speaking, we are restarting the movement, Nilesh. We were originally involved in the Sankirtan movement. Some people don't realize this. There is a difference between a person that has been with Prabhupada and personally trained with him and someone that hasn't. There's a difference. It doesn't mean necessarily that that person got the benefit, but some do. We're not impersonalist people. We are personalist people, and we understand the connection. So we're taking the instructions from Srila Prabhupada, protecting them, and then we're moving forward. Like you were saying, we have to take up this mission carefully together as a team. It's not philosophy. It's an application of the philosophy that we're looking for in our group. Yes, we are. People that are ready to do something, to really work together as a team. I know that you're going to help us with the Wednesday night program, and we're looking forward to that. So in this way, this is a great service. But at any rate, Yaśodā-nandana, we're going to wind up the program. We're close to 11:30, and we've all got a busy day today. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further comment.
Well, very important points that have been raised by Nilesh Sharma Prabhu. And the reason why it's important is devotees have to understand the history of the development of Vaishnava philosophy. How did we arrive at the current time where Srila Prabhupada came to America, preached Krishna consciousness, and we're reading from these diaries and these explanations of what he went through to establish this movement. because many people are confused when people say, well, why did Krishna allow this? And why did Krishna allow that? And it's just like a devotee went to Srila Prabhupada one time and asked him, well, why is it that in the history of India that there was so many different invasions and conquests by different groups and different Muslim invasions or whatever invasion? And Prabhupada says, and then this devotee asked, well, does that mean, or did Krishna did not prevent this? Some kind of a question like that. And Prabhupada's reaction was, well, Krishna is not under your order. Krishna is independent. In other words, we can have so many questions. Why did Krishna allow this? Why did Krishna allow that? Why this? Why that? But ultimately, what we should do with our current understanding, basically, and see and understand what is the explanation from the current authority, Srila Prabhupada. The explanations are there. The bona fide understanding is already there. We have to read what he has presented. We have to submit our ears and our mind and intelligence to correctly understand his teachings. Then all of this will make sense. Not simply wanting to find fault, why this, why that. Well, if you're a liberated soul that knows past, present, and future, you will understand. Prabhupada was such a person. But we are not on that level. So we have to learn to submissively hear from the Acharya in a systematic way. Why did Prabhupada give so many lectures? He could just have said when he came to this country, here's the book. Just read the book, chant, and take prasadam. But every single day, he would give lectures and explanations, supplemental explanation of the meaning of these verses, the meaning of all these books from Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So many explanations are there, so many details. Because he knew that in Kali Yuga, people are manda sumanda matayo, lazy and less intelligent. That is the characteristic of people in the age of Kali Yuga. So we have to develop the intelligence, develop the taste for hearing from the pure devotee, and then we will understand. It is not just all of a sudden it just falls from the sky. It's like Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā, Sarvasya chaham riddhi sanivishtaha. Mata smritir jnanam apohanamsha. That verse in chapter 15, text 15. Srila Prabhupada one time said in a lecture that the Mayavadi is the impersonalist. They will take the Bhagavad-gītā and they will interpret a verse this way, that way. Prabhupada says, Krishna, if you want to forget Krishna, Krishna will also give you the intelligence how to forget him. He will give you that intelligence, and he gives the Mayavadis the intelligence how to interpret the verse this way, that way, this way. That is why that philosophy is so dangerous. That's why we have to hear our explanations from bona fide, realized, authorized acharyas. This is a very important point. Very important point. Yes, Nilesh Sharma Prabhu.
Prabhuji, remember when we do the Prabhupada Pranam Mantra also, Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane. Gauravani. He is preaching Lord Chaitanya's Vani. Gauravani Pracharane. Nirvishesha. Nirvishesha are these Mayavadis and Shunyavadis. Shunyavadis are the Buddhists who are thinking of voidism. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarane. So we are specifying in this particular Pranam Mantra why his advent is and what is his purpose.
Yes, very important point. Yes, Vishwakarma Prabhu.
Thank you, everyone. And I wanted to remind you that we will be back tomorrow for Srimad Bhagavatam reading and discussion from the original Delhi Bhagavatams, which is very inspirational for all of us that started in the movement when that's the only books that we had. If you recall, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, all the temples, we didn't have Gita. The Bhagavad-gītā, the blue Gita had come out, but it was an edited version. but the Bhagavatam had the Sanskrit and the there's the blue Gita Vijay Pandit has there showing us. Look at that. It was so beautiful. So these books are very inspirational, and it's a great opportunity for us to take some time, 4.5 hours a week of our classes on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays to get association and discussion with each like-minded devotees and keep us enthused to carry on with this process and overcome all the difficulties that are present in our lives in this modern Kali Yuga society that we live in. It's a great challenge for everyone, and we respect your time when you're coming to these classes, and we thank you very much for that. It's an inspiration for everyone here. So let's move forward, Prabhu, with the chanting of Hare Krishna with Srila Prabhupada playing the bongo drum. And you can chant along, it's for 2.5 minutes. Chant along Hare Krishna, and then we'll conclude the program. All glories to the Sankirtan movement and its members. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone just like desire trees, and we're full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks everyone for participating in this program. Rupesh Chavan Prabhu, Bhakti Rupesh, thank you so much for handling the program. Vishwakarma Prabhu for hosting the discussions. Neil Sharma Prabhu for your comments and analysis, and everybody. Thank you very much, Rochi Samataji, for your comments about Apakrita. He is very much missed. For those of you who have access to Facebook, Bhakti Rupesh Prabhu has made a very nice tribute to Apakrita that he is circulating. It's also on WhatsApp and will be on Facebook. A very valuable, interesting display, very nice. He sent it to me today on WhatsApp. I forwarded it to a few of you. If you have any questions, you can contact Bhakti Rupesh and he'll be able to forward it to you. Again, thanks everybody. We look forward to see you all tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock a.m., corresponding to 10 a.m. Florida time, for more lively discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. Thanks everybody for participating, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Hare Krishna. Merci tout le monde. Grazie, grazie.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,